question is, experts have predicted that the outbreak of the new coronavirus could bring the worst recession in the global economy. So what do you think? What is it different this time comparing to the other economic crisis before?
Well, so far it has caused a very serious economic problem all over the world. Look out the window. Look out any window, any country in the world. You know, the largest economies in the world closed down. So no, it's had a serious effect. And one of the main reasons it had a serious effect is because there's so much debt everywhere. Nearly every country in the world has added huge amounts of debt in the last decade or two. So whenever you have some kind of problem and there's huge debt, it makes the situation worse. So yes, it's the worst in a long time, worst in my lifetime.
So because it's the worst recession, the Fed and other major economies, they are carrying out massive fiscal and monetary policies. So do you think it's the right move? Is it necessary?
No, it's going to make things much worse. You know, 3 months ago, the U.S. was the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. And the U.S. has added several trillion, with a T, dollars of debt. No, but Jiang, there's an election in November in the U.S. They don't care about you or me or my children or young people anywhere. They care about the election. So they're doing everything they can. Now we're all, especially Americans, going to pay a huge price later on because this debt is staggering. Is it the right thing to do? No. But then I don't care about the election. You know, I care about the future. I care about my children. I care about you. I care about everything. But they don't. No, adding all of this debt, not just in America, Japan, every day, the head of the Bank of Japan goes to work, cranks up the printing press, prints a lot of money, buys bonds, buys stocks, buys ETFs. I mean, it's insane what's happening all over the world.
Well, Korea is doing the same thing. Korea's
nearly everybody is doing the same things. America and Japan are worse, but everybody is doing it.
So if you think it's the wrong policy, what do you think, like, the Korean government is aiding the companies that are hit by the new coronavirus, such as airline companies? They are suffering from liquidity problems. Do you think we should aid them to, no? Just let them bankrupt?
I own shares of Korea Air. I'm losing money, but I don't particularly like for Korea or anybody to go in and bail these guys out. That's not the way the world is supposed to work. We've had crises and bankruptcies throughout history, and people where it's supposed to work, when people get in trouble, competent people come, they take over the assets, they reorganize the company and start over from a sounder base. You're not supposed to go in and bail everybody out. That's not the way the system is supposed to work. And by the way, Jiang, they're doing it with your money.
That's true, yes. I'm
excited. I mean, if they're going to do it, I'm glad they're doing it with your money and not mine. That's great.
That's true. So it's a win for you.
Thank you. I'll give you a kiss. Thank you.
So, but they're, they're part of the infrastructure companies, the airline. So if we don't bail them out, it will cause a huge problem for the Korean economy. Don't you agree with it?
Well, Jiang, the world has had economic problems for thousands of years. This is not the first time. And the world has had epidemics for hundreds and thousands of years. Normally, what happens is people go through the epidemic. There are losses, health problems, deaths. I'm not saying it's good, but it's happened throughout history. This is the first time in history where everybody has closed down. You know, as recently as 2009, America had the H1N1 virus. It didn't close Korea Air. It didn't close airline. It didn't close McDonald's. everybody continued. But this time around, for some reason, the press or politicians or somebody got excited and closed everything down. That, in my view, is a serious mistake. It added gigantic amounts of debt. It's caused many people to fail. Sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease. And in my estimation, the cure is worse than the disease now. Huge amounts of debt, bankruptcy, failure, health problems. Many people are suffering and will suffer more because of what's happened. It's certainly not good that I'm losing money on my Korea airline fares.
No, but it's not a good market in general.
But I'm not even Korean. But they're using your money to bail it out. Well, as I say, thank you, Jiyoung, but it's a mistake. And what should have happened, if you ask me, same as happened in previous viruses, SARS, H1N1, Spanish flu 100 years ago. The world suffers. But as I said, this has been happening for thousands of years. And this time the politicians and perhaps the media have made it worse. And so we're all going to suffer for a long time. My children, America was already plateauing and perhaps declining. This accelerates the decline of America because of what they've done.
So for these policies, do you think Donald Trump will have a chance to win in the November election?
I would, if I were a betting person, I would bet he would win because, well, first of all, historically, it's very difficult to defeat a president in office. It has happened, but very rarely. If you're the president, you can spend money. If you need votes over here, you can spend money over here. You can spread the money wherever you need it. The opposition cannot do that. So that's why usually American presidents are reelected. So I would suspect he's going to be reelected.
Oh, so after he's reelected, do you think the quantitative policies are going to last?
The which policies?
The spreading money, quantitative?
No. I'm sure it will slow down a lot because then everybody's going to stand up and say, "Oh my God, what have we done? Look at all this debt." And it's not just Washington. I mean, all the states, cities, many of the American states which are going to go bankrupt because of all of this. No, they will slow down after the election because they have to. Tell Mr. Moon he should slow down too.
Yes, of course. So as the asset prices are really cheap right now, most of the assets, do you think it's a good time to start investing?
Well, I have started investing. I bought some Japanese shares recently. Japan's got horrible problems, but I told you, the Bank of Japan goes to work every day and buys ETFs. So I bought some ETFs too. Bank of Japan has more money than I do. It's bad for Japan. It's bad for the world. But if that's what they want to do, okay. I bought some Russian shipping company recently, Chinese wine recently. Yeah, I've been buying a few shares. Some things.
Wine?
Yep. Next time I see you, I'll give you some or whatever you want. We'll drink some wine together, okay?
That'd be nice.
Everything was closed down. Some industries, transportation, tourism, shipping, restaurants, hotels. Well, if people can't go to the restaurant, they probably don't buy much wine to drink. So a lot of things have been really hurt by this, by the nature of what it is. And so there may be great opportunities.
So after the coronavirus, you think the demand for wine will blow up?
I think people will go to the restaurant again. They will have parties again. And usually, often when people have parties and go to the restaurant, they drink alcohol.
Yeah, that's true. So what about in Korea? Do you see a certain sector or company that you might consider?
Same for Korea. Korea Air is having a rights issue. I'm subscribing. I'm buying more Korea Air. Same areas all over the world. Tourism, travel, transportation, they're all getting smashed. It's not just Korean Airlines, it's everybody's airlines
That's true,
that are
yes.
getting smashed.
Yeah.
Everybody's restaurants, everybody's hotels, everybody's alcohol is getting hurt.
So after the coronavirus pandemic, companies are reserving more cash and they're like restructuring and restricting themselves for new investments. So do you think it's the right move for them? They have to go through this trouble.
They have to. They don't have any choice. I mean, we use Korea Air again. They don't have any choice. Profits have collapsed. Everything is collapsed. They have to restructure. They have to start over. Some will not start, or some will just disappear. Some companies, Korea and everywhere else. I live in Singapore. There are restaurants that are never going to open again because of this. So it's happening to everybody. It's what always happens. Again, I think the cure is worse than the disease this time. My children, who happen to be American citizens, I don't know. America's in decline. This just accelerates it.
After the coronavirus, do you think the industry, Korean companies have to change more than other countries?
Well, given that they are more export in many places, obviously their export industry has to adapt and has to change. But no, everybody, even countries that don't have a lot of exports, they're getting killed too. I mean, it doesn't, you name the country. North Korea is getting killed. I mean, everybody's getting killed. And so everybody has to adapt and adjust. Yes, South Korea is an exporting country, but your customers are suffering. But China is an exporting country. Its customers are suffering. Germany is an exporting country. Its customers are suffering. So everybody has to adjust and adapt or disappear. And many are disappearing and more will disappear. As I said, the cure can be worse than the disease. And in my view, they really bungled it by closing everything down.
So even in Singapore, they're closing down everything, right?
They have closed everything down. I can't get a haircut. I can't do anything.
So
now it opened. I mean, yesterday they've started opening up, but couldn't do anything.
Other famous investors like Warren Buffett, they all suffered great losses at this time because of the financial market so bad. So what about you?
Well, I told you my Korea Air went down. It collapsed. Some of the stocks I own went down a lot. I didn't sell anything. In my view, we're going to continue to fly in airplanes eventually. We're not going to start taking boats to Korea. We're not going to start taking the bus, to Busan. Do you live in Seoul?
Yes, Seoul.
You're not going to take the bus to Busan. You're going to fly. So restaurants are going to open again. Hotels will open again. So yes, I suffered some losses, but it's not the first time I've seen investments collapse for whatever reason. Maybe I'm going to collapse too, but so far I can still pay my bills.
So you haven't sold anything?
No.
You've had a lot of interest in North Korea. So I'm going to ask you about North Korea. Do you think you've mentioned several times that if North Korea opens up their economy, it's going to be a huge opportunity? So do you still think this way?
Absolutely. I mean, as recently as 1970, North Korea was richer than South Korea. Well, communism can ruin anything, and the Kim family can ruin anything, and they did. Ruin North Korea. But once you open the 38th parallel,
Mm.
you put together all their cheap, educated, disciplined labor, cheap labor, right on the Chinese border with South Korea's capital and manufacturing and business ability. It's going to be a very exciting place. Hanbando is going to be the most exciting place in the world for 10 or 20 years. You got 80 million people on the Chinese border, cheap labor, natural resources, et cetera, et cetera. You know, Japan is very much against this because Japan cannot compete, and they know it, with an open Korea. But, you know, it's going to happen. The American Army's against it. That's more of a problem. But
why are they against it?
Well, you get out a map. It's the only place in the world that America can have troops on the Chinese border and the Russian border. They don't want to leave. Is it good for you? No. When the war comes, you're going to be first because all those American troops there. You know, a neutral Korea could sit it out. Not now. You've got 30,000 American troops right there. So you're going to get hit first. So, but America doesn't want to leave. I thought Korea would be tough enough and strong enough to throw them out. Well, it hasn't happened.
Not yet. But recently, the North Korea has blew up the liaison office.
Yep.
So it's raising a lot of inter-Korean tensions. So
it should.
Yeah.
If I blew up your house, you'd be unhappy too. I don't know what they were doing or why. Seems crazy to me, but I cannot answer for them. But within not too long, the 38th parallel is going to be open, either peacefully or because there's going to be a war and Korea will lose, and then it will be open. Okay. I hope it's not that way, but this craziness is not going to go on much longer. You know, it has been 67 years that border has been crazy and closed. Russia wants it, China wants it, South Korea wants it. Many people want it. North Korea wants it, you know. So it's going to happen one way or the other. Peacefully, in my view, but, you know, if something strange happens, either way, the 38th parallel is going to open.
You think it will happen in within 10 years, maybe?
Oh, within 5. Sooner.
Yeah, 5 years is a very short time.
It's very, very good. Not short time, it's a long time. 5 years is a long time. It is insane because what Hanbando could have if the 38th parallel were open would be fabulous. Do you know how much money South Korea spends on defense every year? Huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
You know how much North Korea spends on defense every year? Huge. Think of all the money you both will have that you could spend on other things. You could spend it on wine.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But you could also spend it on schools and highways, factories, many other things. So every male alive in Hanbando now has spent his whole life worried about getting killed. You can tell them they don't have to worry anymore. Or if they do have to worry, they don't have to worry for long because the war won't last very long if it happens. But I doubt if there's going to be a war and all those males and females can stop worrying about getting killed. You got a lot of extra money to spend on whatever they want. And Hanbando is going to be very, very exciting.
So, but currently Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Kim Jong-un, she's playing a bigger role these days. So do you think there's a big change in North Korea's leadership?
Well, I know that's what I read in the Western press. I have actually no idea if what's happening.
Yes.
I know that the Korean press, the American press, have so full of lies about Korea over the past, 50 years. I don't know what's happening there. But so what? I mean, I have nothing against women. I'm very keen on women. And in fact, North Korean women are the best. You know
Yeah.
the expression? What is the expression? North Korean women, South Korean men?
It's called 남남북녀 in
Yes.
Korean.
Yeah.
You know this expression.
Okay. So what's wrong with that? She's a North Korean woman.
Yeah,
Koreans for
so
centuries.
aggressive.
For centuries, Koreans say North Korean woman. She's a North Korean woman. So I don't mind. Let her. I don't know that it changes anything. Maybe the kid is sick. Maybe somebody's going to assassinate. I have no idea. I do have learned not to believe what I read in the American press and the Korean press about North Korea. Some of it is accurate, yes, but I take it all with a grain of salt. If she is becoming more powerful, great. I'm very keen on women.
So, do you think the tension will blow up over time between two Koreas
The 38th parallel is going to open.
in 5 years?
Less than 5 years.
Okay.
And that will cause the tension to be, if I were Mr. Moon, I would call up Miss Kim and Mr. Kim and say, let's have a K-pop concert on the 38th parallel, free for the whole world. We will send some of our groups, K-pop, you send yours, we'll have a free concert, open the 38th parallel, and drink all the wine we can get. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that would be very friendly way. It's the last question. So, if North Korea opens up their economy, which kind of sector do you think will be an attractive investment?
Well, it will depend on how they do it and when they do it. It would have to be a Korean or Chinese company. I only invest in stocks. So for me, I would have to find a stock that would benefit. There are none in North Korea now. There's no stock market in North Korea. So I would have to find, Korean Air. If it happens, be a lot more travel in Hanbando from all over the world. But I would have to find, for people who are not limited to stocks, go there, start it, but they don't have anything. They don't have shirts. They don't have electricity. They don't have anything.
So you can invest in everything. Everything.
If you know a lot about electricity, go to North Korea and invest in electricity. You'll get very rich. But they don't have anything. And it's going to be tourism is an obvious choice.
Yes.
Korea, the whole peninsula, has not been on the world tourism map, well, ever for that matter, for many reasons that you know. But now, everybody's going to say, oh, let's go see. What was North Korea? Let's go see. And they'll have to see South Korea too. And there are mountains and beaches and restaurants and temples, many things. Korean food. A lot of people love Korean food. So Korea, Hanbando, will be on the world tourism map for the first time in history. So tourism have a great future for just about anything. Yes,
I agree. If that happens, it'll be a really good opportunity.
It'll be fabulous. Be fabulous.
Okay.
And I hope that I can go as soon as it happens.
Well, it will happen in 5 years in your prediction.
Less than 5 years. Less than 5 years.
Less than 5 years.
Young. What is wrong with me? Less than 5 years.
Less than 5 years.
Yes.
I hope it really happens soon.
I do too. I want to go.